Okay, players, so here is a video attempting to have us think about the grid work and look at it from an aerial view. So what I have set up here initially is the blue team, which are the players on the ball in possession, which would be our team, and working with the grid, which is the 4-3-3. So here we have number 3-5-4-2. 6, 10, 8, 11, 9, 7. Those red discs represent the grids or the formation that we're working with. And then we see the players. They are the team that's in possession, and in this case, it's us. So we've seen the movement here. We've practiced the movement. Now let's take a look at it from an aerial view and think about how this all works together for us. So I'm going to start the video here. Here in this scenario, the keeper moves that ball to the number 2. So at this point, we have 4 and 6 who are supporting the player on the ball, but we don't have anybody in 7 supporting the player on the ball. So we'll look at movement that allows there to be support. So we'll move the video there and we'll see that um, number 6 moved into that position. Then we had number 10 that moved into the number 6 position. And at this particular point, we really didn't need 9 to move. And that's part of what the confusion was I saw last night, was that we were thinking we had to move just for the sake of movement. But in truth, we really want to move to support the player on the ball. Now, we don't necessarily need to stand still, right? We need to get into a position so that we're open, but we don't need to run to look for another position like over here or over here. We always want to see where we can be in support of the player on the ball. And with the document that I sent to you that talked about the key qualities of a player in U.S. soccer, and we had the attacking principles of play and the defending principles of play. Well, the second attacking principle of play on that is support. All right, so let's look at some other movement here. So now number 2 has the ball, and number 2 moves that ball up to the number 7 position. So here, because we ideally want to move forward, then we went ahead and we looked at number 3 moving into this position where number 8 was. So again, we have options here so that in the event that this player now passes the ball to the number 9 position in the grid, then this player has an option there. Okay, let's continue with the video. So we see that number 7 moves that ball over, and we see that shift where now we have support around the ball. Now at this point, because I haven't numbered any of the players, we really don't know whose number is where. And that's the point of it. We don't want to get ourselves locked into a line and say, well, because I'm defense, I'm only playing in this back line. Or because I'm midfield, I'm only playing in the midfield line. Or because I'm forward, I start there, I'm only playing in the forward line. What we want to think is, where is the space in the grid that needs to be filled, and how am I supporting the player with the ball? So we'll continue to take a look at that, and we continue that movement over here. So now I stop the video. When we have the ball over here in the number 11 position in the grid, well, there's support there, there's support there. There isn't support in this position, the number 3 position in the grid. So we see where these players are now starting to move over to support that player on the ball. Okay, so then we see more movement. I have it going rather quickly there. So coming from the number 11 down to the number 3, and then we're moving to support that player on the ball. Here we're getting that defensive cover here so that we have support. Okay. Now, in this particular scenario, and there's multiple scenarios, if you look at your attacking principles of play, number 5 on that list is improvisation. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. This is where you need to be thinking. This is where you need to be aware of what you're going to do with that ball before you receive it. As I was talking in practice last night, one thing I see Bryn do quite a bit is really take that look. She looks to see what her options are. She looks to see if there's any pressure on her. And one of the most obvious, examples of really taking that look. Let's all really get into that mode of taking that look. So you're going to improvise here. You're not going to do this rigid pattern, but I'm suggesting a way that you can approach it. So here the ball's coming back to the keeper. Keeper takes it. We see that these positions now in the grid have been covered, so we're having support for the player on the ball as well as players nearest the ball. So now the keeper receives that ball and has options. Now I've added red players in now, and these represent our opposing team. And I've only given 4 here at the beginning, so it doesn't get too confusing. So we have the red players in. Now the keeper looks like is passing to the number 5 position in the grid. So let's see what the red players do. Well, they're going to collapse around that number 5 and attempt to stop that player from getting the ball out. So the best option for number 5 is to play simple and play back to the keeper instead of turning into pressure and just trying to blindly clear it up the field. Better to turn back and do a back pass back to the keeper so that the keeper can quickly make a decision. Now here, because we have 2 players over here, we have 1 player central, these aren't good options for the keeper to pass the ball. All right, so better option, as you'll see here, is for the keeper to pass that ball out to number 2. Now obviously the number 2 player is going to have to think quickly, and a pass down line, one of our vocab words, a pass down line is a really good thought. But again, that number 2 position on the grid, whoever is in that spot, needs to take a look upfield and see about clearing it. So now you see that I've added even more players from the other team. So it's getting a little crowded here. We have everybody here in the play. So with number 2, excuse me, number 7 up there just received the ball from number 2. Let's see what happens here as the red team collapses around and attempts to win that ball from the number 7 position. Okay, so everybody's shifting over to support that player on the ball, our player on the ball. So we have this opportunities. We've got multiple triangles here. Notice that we're getting between the other players. We're not standing alongside them when we have possession of the ball. We're getting between and attempting to give our players a clean pass. So that awareness and moving to our player, moving to receive the ball and support our player on the ball. All right. So then, our player made a pass that went too close to the other player. So what do we want to do here? Well, we've got some thoughts that we need to do. One, we need to get into those defending principles of play. So we need to get pressure on that ball. We've lost the ball. And then we need cover. And then we need balance. And we need to get compact. So we'll see how we move into those kinds of positions. So now we see this player who is getting on the ball. We have the rest of her teammates compacting behind her. So if she tries to make a pass here, then we can step and cover, step and cover. If she tries to make a pass over here, we can step and cover. So we've isolated this player right here. Her best player, the red player, is either to pass it back or to pass it this way, unless there's some tremendous skill. But this is pretty congested because we've cut off the options here. This is pretty congested because we have that pressure cover balance set up right here. And then here we take a look at our number 2 position, and where she was up here, she recognizes that there's a dangerous player here. So, and most likely because we've had communication from this player who realizes that she can't cover 2 players there. So she calls the player that was here to get goal side, to get behind that player in anticipation of an effort to send a long ball. All right? Okay, players, let's hope this is helpful to you, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.